Hey, we're going to take a look at option 3 for the vocab. It seems really easy. It seems really clean. In fact, it can be one of the trickiest and toughest ones out there. So I hope this helps you get through it if that's the option you want to take. You do not ever need to do any of these options. You need to do one of them, but you can find the option that works for you, and you can do that one every time if you want. So the first thing I need to do is I need to find a word that I don't really know or I don't feel comfortable with, I don't feel like I could use on my own. And I think I'm going to use this word philanthropist. I'm going to go ahead and take this and I'm going to move it into a document. You don't need to include the original sentence, but I'm going to because I want to remind you guys of the word that I'm choosing. I want to keep that kind of in the back of your head at all times. And so if I go over to my directions, it says I need to look up the word and I need to identify at least 4 similar words. Now, the key here is similar. They don't need to be synonyms necessarily. They need to be related. So I need to find the definition. I like vocabulary.com for the definition. I'm going to show you why. It gives me the definition. I'm going to cut and paste that for later. I'll explain. But it gives me, here are famous examples. And not only does it tell me famous examples, but it tells me why. So Carnegie is an industrialist and a philanthropist who endowed education in public libraries. Peter Cooper was an industrialist who built the first automotive. He also founded Cooper Union and to offer free courses in arts and science. This is a guy who unified the telegraph system, but he founded Cornell University. This guy created the foundation to support the arts. He also built the Guggenheim Museum. This is the guy who he left his money to found a university and a hospital in Baltimore. So these are all major wealthy people, and they've all given large amounts of money to create these things to better mankind. That gives me a better understanding of it than just reading a dictionary definition. Also, this does too. Los Angeles Times, Today, New York Times, Guardian. So they give me a bunch of examples, and actually I could look at just the usage in culture, or just the usage in science, or just the usage in news, or just the usage in technology, or just the usage in fiction. So that's really nice that I can find all of these examples that it's used in. So I've got my definition. I did copy and paste it, but I'm not going to stop there. I'm not going to use the definition they give me. I'm going to use what I've learned, because I learned that it was a bunch of people. I learned that it was wealthy people. I learned they give large amounts of money. So I want to create a better definition. I want to create a definition in my own words. So a philanthropist is a person. It's not just a person, it's a wealthy person. And that wealthy person who gives large sums of money to charities intended to better mankind. Does it match exactly? No. Does it have all the key details? Person who gives away money. A wealthy person who gives away large sums of money. I like mine better. To charities or helping people, needy people in other ways. To charities intended to better mankind. I think mine works, so we're going to leave mine alone, and I'm going to get rid of that. I like my definition better, and it's one that I understand now. So the next thing I need to do, if I'm going to do this, is I need to find other related words. Vocab.com in this case does not really help me. They normally have really good lists of synonyms, and I can take this one of altruist but that doesn't really tell me anything else. So I think I'm going to have to go somewhere else. I'm just going to start a list. Altruist. I'm going to have to look up what that one means. Altruistic. Someone who makes charitable. Okay, I could see that. Sure. Then I'm going to go actually to thesaurus.com because I need, oh look, altruist. Because I need to find more of these words, and I want to get, with this one especially, you probably want words that you're more comfortable with. So I'm going to choose some words that I'm more comfortable with. So like a benefactor I'm more comfortable with. I know what a benefactor is. I know what it is to benefit someone. I know the OR is someone who, so it's someone who benefits, got it, or makes other people benefit, got it. Donor was one I saw in there. Let me see what else. Donor I'm pretty comfortable with. Patron I saw in there. Contributor. Saw helper. And maybe I'm just going to come up with some off the top of my head. They just need to be related words. Do-gooder. And so what I need to be able to do with these words is I need to put them in a relationship with one another. So if I'm trying to figure this out, if I'm trying to put them into a pattern, I don't really know how an altruist and a benefactor and a philanthropist and a contributor, that's another one that I didn't put on here. Oh, I do have contributor on there. Relate. It seems to me that a contributor can be of any size. I feel like a benefactor is a little bit bigger than a contributor. Patron, I'm not really sure because they contribute to a specific thing. I think philanthropists give a ton. But I think contributors, I think a donor is also a contributor. But, okay, so that might be, I think a helper is still a contributor, but a helper might not help in financial ways. So, contributor seems to be kind of, for me, at the root of all this. So I think what I'm going to do is, let me just do, sometimes they'll let me do a text link. I want to do a drawing, I guess. A drawing will work. Okay, so I'm going to do a text box. And I'm going to, I can't see all my words. I've got my words written down beside me, thankfully. So it seems to me that contributor is something that all these words kind of have in common, but they're not really more or less of, you contribute more or less, but I don't know. We're going to come back to that. So I'm going to say, so I'm thinking about some of my words. So I'm thinking about like philanthropist and benefactor and donor, and all those people are giving money. Philanthropists give more money than benefactors. So that's true. But donors don't necessarily give money. It could be an object. Because you wouldn't say you're an organ benefactor. But, so maybe what I want to do here, so I'm going to go ahead and put donor. I can always move it around. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and put that down for now. And the way my mind was working right now, I'm going to go ahead and create another one. I said benefactor is not as big to me as philanthropist. I think you're giving more money if you're a philanthropist. Let me put that back where it those. Let me copy that, paste it. Okay, there we go. Try to get these kind of in a line. There's my philanthropist. That's got to be on there. I'm going to take my little arrow. Take my little arrow again. Now, it seems to me so these two I've got a better relationship on. So a philanthropist gives more money and a benefactor gives less money. They're still giving a lot, but they're not giving as much, and they're all examples of contributors. So a contributor can be any sum of money. A donor, I feel like, is a little bit bigger than a contributor. So that might be okay. But a donor doesn't have to be money. Like I've mentioned before, it could be organs. So I can't just say more money. It could be gives more money, maybe something of more value. Organs save people's lives. They're of great value. Or more money. And then maybe this is they give something of less value or less money. So they are so what I'm saying here is a contributor can give less money and be considered a contributor. A philanthropist, you have to give a lot more to get there. I think that will work for me. But I don't have, I've got all these other words that I wanted to use. I don't really feel like 3 in a chain is really enough. But a contributor can donate, so I can donate $20 to cancer research. You know, $20 and I'm a cancer research donor too. But I could also donate my body to cancer research, and that's worth more than, I'm not just cancer research. I'm not just a contributor now, I'm a donor. I'm a body donor, but I'm a donor. Benefactor feels bigger than that. A benefactor feels like, you know, I think about corporations as benefactors, and philanthropists are people who set up whole organizations. So I'm okay with this chain. But I had these other words. I had like helper. But a helper doesn't give money. So what I want to do is I want to shorten my arrow. So I want to create a separate chain. And sometimes you'll need to do this. You know, I'm thinking about, cajole was the word that came up. And people had all these different words of convincing. But we convince people in different ways. So cajole wasn't enough. You had to kind of have different chains. So I have my words helper, I have my word do-gooder, and I have my word altruist. I think about helper as like a parent in a classroom. Like, great, helpful. I'm not going to go so far as to say you're a do-gooder. You're a helper. So I feel like do-gooder's bigger. I need to figure out how it's bigger, but I'm going to go ahead and put do-gooder down here. I can rearrange them. And a do-gooder to me, you know, I think about like Dudley Do-Right and Superman. Like people who go out and do the right thing because it's the right thing to do. So I'm going to call that person a do-gooder. And then we have that word altruist. I'm not even sure what altruist is. I'm going to put it here. I can rearrange in a second. I did look it up. Never read the definition. I'm a terrible person. I'll admit that. An altruist. Someone who makes charitable donations and okay, so this is very much like a philanthropist. And they're giving me the same people for altruist. Effective altruist might see this as a flaw. Henry's sister, an altruist who lives, is convinced he was made for a higher purpose. These disparate altruists are united by the priority placed on duty to help strangers. Like the woman who wept over a candied apple, the effective altruist, despite seeming the extreme I don't even get that one. Hold on. They were seldom mistaken for altruist. Game of Thrones. She was an altruist, like the bees. It is not she, it is not her husband, it is the community that matters. That seems like a bigger deal. She's a woman who in the truest sense is an altruist. An altruist as well as a lover of culture, anxious to improve him. So it seems to me that an altruist might even be bigger than a do-gooder. It seems to me, so it seems like my pattern might have been right. What seems to be in common with these, and I'm not talking about this group anymore. I'm only talking about this group over here. It seems to me that this group gives money to causes. It seems to me that this group works for causes. And it seems to me that a do-gooder might do it occasionally, even often. But a do-gooder seems more serious about it than a helper. But someone who you might describe as an altruist, when I look at that list of altruists, I almost want to go to like Gandhi and people. Like it seems like people who have really, an altruist seems like someone who's really dedicated their life to it. So I'm going to create another arrow. I need another box. And it seems to me that this row of people, this idea of contributors, because they're contributing, they're just contributing their life instead of money. But it seems to me that a helper is doing, I go in on the weekends and I help out or whatever. But when we're talking about someone who you're talking about an altruist, I feel like you're talking about someone who really almost is giving their life to a cause. So I feel like what you're talking about is they work less for a cause, they devote less time, maybe I like that better, devote less time to a cause, and devote more time and energy to a cause. And so when we look at an altruist, like I said, it feels like someone who's really dedicating their life to it. But this chain is all about money. Donors, benefactors, philanthropists, those are people who give money. These are people who give time and energy. That's not the same thing. If I put a helper on this row, it's going to be weird. If I put altruist on this row, it's going to be strange. I'm going to save that and close it. There's my drawing. Put my do-gooder back on here. Now, you might disagree with me. There might be places where, and I'm going to tell you, if we can make sense of it, we'll give you credit. If there is something we know and we talk about and we go, yeah, that's not really where that fits, we'll talk to you about it. If you disagree with us, you can leave us verbal comments too and explain why you've put things in this path. But that's where this one gets tough. is you really need to think about the relationship between these words. The donor has not given as much value or as much money as a benefactor has, or that helper is not devoting as much of themselves to a cause as an altruist. You need to really have a good understanding of these words to be able to do this, and that's what makes this one so hard. So good luck with it, and let me know if I can help.